Po. And yes, I said po, not poor, because growing up down a dirt road in rural Virginia in extreme poverty has a way of shaping your worldview and your vocabulary. So early on, I set my intentions on living the American dream, or at least the version of it I saw the Huxtables live out every Thursday night on our old black and white TV. I crafted my escape from poverty plan by becoming a bona fide box checker. First order of business, get a job at age 13 so I could buy a members only jacket and a Michael Jackson Thriller album. Yeah, I said album, check. Be the first person in my family to go to college, check. Get a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree. Ensure that that DR before my name stood for doctor and not dirt road, check. Marry my college sweetheart and have 4 amazing kids, check. Start my own business, check. Ensure that my children never experienced the pain of an empty stomach or the shame of poverty and lack. Check, check, check. I checked all the boxes on all the things. Whew, I made it. So I want you to imagine me standing on the edge of a cliff with a vast and boundless world of possibilities stretched out before me. But on one such day in 2018, beneath the sterile glow of hospital lights and surrounded by the cold bluish hue of medical machinery, the ground crumbled beneath me. The words, "He has brain cancer," whispered by that doctor with the sad apologetic eyes, echoed in my ears, chilling my spine, blurring my vision. In that moment, my plan A, my carefully crafted plan, shattered into a million pieces. But it was a pivotal moment. It was the moment that I realized that my purpose in life had been defined more by what I was running from instead of what I should be running to. In the aftermath of that dreadful diagnosis and the eventual passing of my husband of 31 years, I came to the realization that I had no identity, no purpose apart from him. You see, I had been hiding from the world, too afraid to show myself, too afraid to be seen. I had been hiding behind my roles as a wife, a mother, and successful CEO. Have any of you ever found yourself clinging to the fragments of a life, a relationship, or even a job that didn't align with your true purpose? Have any of you ever found yourself adjusting the wattage on your brightness to accommodate the tolerance level of those around you? You see, I've come to believe that many of us have been hiding from our purpose and dimming our lights. Not because we don't believe that there's more in us, but I believe that the reason, the culprit, is that nasty, dirty, 4-letter F word. Not that F word. The F word that I'm referring to is fear. The whole concept of purpose has been the focus of researchers for years. In numerous studies, most people report that they are concerned about finding and living their purpose. So now, here's a spoiler alert. This is where Dr. Melissa gets a little nerdy with the numbers. To the question of whether or not we have a meaning or purpose in our life, one study found that 57% of those that were surveyed said that they thought about that question at least monthly. 1 out of 5 said they considered the question daily. To the question of whether or not we all even have a purpose, another study found that 4 out of 5, 80%, said that they believe that there's an ultimate purpose and plan for every person's life. And that same study found that 2 out of 3, which is 67%, said that finding their purpose in life was a major priority. So why then do studies also suggest that only a dismal 25% of adults report having a clear sense of their purpose? Again, I believe that the culprit may be fear. Now, I know that not everyone will agree, and I will acknowledge that there are various underlying reasons and issues as to why people aren't clear on their purpose. But after working with individuals for the past 30 years in the behavioral health field, and now as a success coach helping individuals facing transitions in their life, I have found that fear is often the thing that holds us back. You know, it's fear that tells us that we will never lose the weight. It's fear that says the business will fail. It's fear that says we're too old or it's too late. Fear, by definition, is a natural and instinctual response to perceived threats or dangers. But the key word in that definition is perceived. It is our perceptions of threats or dangers that can hold us back from reaching our full potential. So, how can you overcome your fears to unleash your purpose? Great question. Now, you may think that the answer to that question lies in your ability to identify and get rid of those fears that hold you back. You know, we can spend years and exhaust all of our efforts and energies trying to just get the F out of here. Get the fear out of here. But what if the solution is to live in your purpose, not in the absence of fear, but in spite of the fear? What if the solution is to not wait until the fear is gone, but to be able to take action while you're still afraid? In other words, to do it afraid. What if you could become fearless because you learned to fear less? So, I would like to offer 4 strategies that can help us fear less. Strategy number 1, L, lose and learn. Nelson Mandela said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. The whole concept of lose and learn is based on the premise that living will bring about perceived losses. A baby who's learning to walk will incur the loss of falling before they become proficient. And in that same manner, we will likely experience loss whenever we embark upon something new or venture into uncharted territory. Listen, the truth is, we will most likely stink at any new skills or endeavors at first. Don't believe me? Ask Michael Jordan about the first time he picked up a basketball. But the key is to keep going, keep doing, keep growing with the assurance that the more we practice, the more we show up, you will stink less and less until you no longer stink at all because you've mastered it. So to paraphrase Nelson Mandela, we aren't losing, we're learning. Strategy number 2, evaluate and educate. An important step in overcoming your fears is to be able to identify specifically what you are afraid of. Ask yourself, what are the things that are holding me back from living in my purpose? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of the judgment of others? By evaluating the root cause of your fear, you can begin to address them directly. And one way to do that is through education. Education simply means equipping yourself with information about the fears that you're facing in order to reduce anxiety and to build confidence. For example, I have always had a crippling fear of flying. But as I started to educate myself on the principles of aerodynamics and, nerd alert, researching data on the low probability of plane crashes, my false perceptions, my fears have been reduced. The third strategy, S, self-care. We need to give ourselves grace and practice self-compassion on our purpose journey. Treat yourself with kindness and forgiveness when facing your fears. Be intentional about filling yourself so that you can serve others from a capacity that is full and not empty. And I call that prioritize fulfillment. You need to be full before you can fill anything or anyone else. Lisa Nichols says it this way, serve from your saucer. Yes. And what that means is what's in your cup is for you. But you serve from your overflow, which represents what's in your saucer. Remember, you got to put your oxygen mask on first before trying to assist others. And the fourth and last strategy, S, seek support. I often ask my clients the question, which would you prefer, 4 quarters or 100 pennies? The almost unanimous response has been 4 quarters. I use that analogy for assessing the value of your circle. Do the people in your circle reflect the quality of the quarters or the quantity of the pennies? You know, it's so important that we build a network of people who believe in our abilities and our dreams. Please recognize that everyone in your circle is not necessarily in your corner. So we have to surround people who are not holding us hostage to our history, but are pushing us toward our destiny. L-E-S-S. 4 strategies to fear less. Being fearless doesn't mean that you will no longer experience fear. The truth is, there are some fears that may never go away. My fear of flying has never disappeared. I've simply decided to fly in spite of the fear. I do it afraid. But each time I fly, I fear less and less. Even when I board the plane, it's still with sweaty palms and shaky knees, but I fear less and less. Each time I stand boldly in my purpose and resist the urge to shrink, I fear less and less. So let me leave y'all with some good news. The good news is, I believe there's a purpose for every person's life, a fingerprint that belongs to us and us alone. The better news is fear is completely natural when embarking upon purposeful living. And the best news is that we don't have to wait for fear to go away. We can do it afraid so that we can fear less. And so that's exactly what I had to do on that dreadful day in 2018 when the ground crumbled beneath me. I had to embark upon a journey of discovering who I really was, authentically and unapologetically. I had to embark upon my purpose with sweaty palms and shaky knees. I decided that although I was afraid of what was next, I was more afraid of leaving this world without ever showing up and making the impact that I was created to make. Yes, fear is a formidable obstacle that prevents many people from living in their purpose. But you can utilize strategies to fear less to become fearless. And then you will no longer hide from your purpose or dim your light. But instead, like me, you'll find yourself standing on the edge of a cliff with a vast and boundless world of possibilities stretched out before you. And you will take the leap. Because the world, we all, have been waiting for you.